Hi. Good morning. It's really nice to talk to you. It's a very early morning in the Netherlands right now. It's cold and it's foggy, and I really wish I was in China right now. Um, but schedules and travel times do not make it possible. So I'm very happy to talk to you on Skype today. Um, and it's kind of interesting that this conversation is happening over Skype because given the kind of things we talk about in terms of digital technologies and networks, it might be really interesting to see what happens when the conversation is mediated through different kinds of screens and different ways of talking to each other. I'm going to speak for about 35 minutes, and that's a very long time to look at somebody's face. So I'm going to try and make sure that I have some lovely visuals for you to see. So at some point, I'm going to disappear from the video and you're going to start seeing a slideshow, but you will hear my voice like the voice of God coming from behind the pictures. Right? So let's begin talking today. Let me just get into my slideshow. Okay. So I want to begin my talk today with a story about a mad king. So in the minutes of the Society's weekly scientific meetings on the 9th of March in 1664 in England, there was a report by Sir Robert Murray documenting the experiments of His Majesty King Charles II about his old age. So it turns out that Charles II was very much like the Kim Kardashian of the 16th century. Because as Sir Murray reports, the king had the curiosity of weighing himself very frequently to observe several emanations of his body before and after sleep, tennis, riding abroad, dinners, and supper. And he found that after he played tennis, he weighed less by 2 pounds 3 ounces, but when he drank alcohol, he made up for that weight. And after dinner, he was 4 pounds heavy. So one thinks fondly of this reigning monarch, known in history as the Merry King, not only measuring all his bodily fluids, but obsessively collecting them, right? So in the name of natural philosophy, he basically was storing all the excrements in different boxes and pans and putting them across his castle. So while the story about this collection of bodily excrements for the juxtaposition of royal scientific interest and the banality of urine and stool samples correlated with weight is exciting, it's also a good idea to remember that for a very large part of being human, we have continuously obsessed about measuring Krishna. It's important to remember that the process of measurement then was not a benign exercise. A measurement is a political expression of power, and it shows us how counting, discounting, and miscounting could create justification for some of the cruelest forms of colonization, slavery, and genocide. So in India, the country that I grew up in, I don't live there anymore, but it's the country I still call home. The idea of measurement, right? The measurement of culture, of human value, and of dignity of life, was central to the logic of the British colonial expansion and violence. Perhaps one of the most striking themes of measurement, not just about being human, but of whether the humanity counts in the systems of modern logic, is the story of Lord Thomas Babington Macaulay, the Governor General of the British East India Company in 1835. In a document titled Minutes on Education, Macaulay argued that a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and America. For Macaulay, the native heathen who recalled a subject with a past but not a history, was in need of history and religion to save his soul. A soul that was to be saved not for the well-being of his life, but for him to become the clerk of the British colonial state. So the Ministry of Education initiated a large English literacy program set up to educate the native into becoming a Pakka English Sahib. However, before Macaulay imported the books of the great European literatures to India and teaching them to read and write and appreciate the fine literature, he introduced two very strange forms in the formal education structures of India. The first one is called the ledger, right? Because the ledger is the accounting system that we are all used to when you have like profits and expenses or profits and losses on sides of the system. And the second thing that he introduced was the Indian Penal Code. Um, I'm showing you right now uh, a art piece from the independent critical art collective Rux Media in New Delhi. And they have this time loop video installation called an unfrozen archival afternoon unregistered on the Richter's scale. The installation, as you will see, um, shows us surveyors, the ledger keepers, the accountants who were keeping count of the wealth and resources of the British East India Company. The accounting system was not only meant to qualify the domination of the British Empire, but also to get the heathen counted. This picture of surveyors in West Bengal, which is in the east of India, we have some funny things like that in India. So we have a state called West Bengal, which is in the east of India. This picture of surveyors in West Bengal reminds us that the most dominant genre of knowledge has always been the ledger. It is the infrastructural trace of information that balances on both sides to maintain a state of equilibrium. The ledger, of course, serves even today as a metaphor to understand database governance and database as a medium of action. The ledger makes us intelligible and produces us as legible, as those who could count and be counted, as those who need to be made sure that they are present in the empire. But what is also present in this particular visual is Macaulay's commitment to design the Indian native to become a good, honorable Englishman. And in the interest of his transformation, Macaulay produced an Indian Penal Code that obsessively sought to regulate the sexual practices of the native Indian. He formulated something called the Unnatural Sexual Acts Law, which criminalized all sexual acts except for those which are penal vaginal in their intercourse and were intended for procreation. Right? So it introduces a series of guidelines on how to curb the homoerotic exercises and excesses of the Indian native. And one of the things that he tried to do was to create this blueprint, right, of boundaries in closed spaces, not allowing for the unclean male bodies to touch each other, because that would lead to the temptation of flesh. So these boundaries became the blueprint of how much space must be maintained between two men in a close working environment so that they can concentrate on their work, restrain their sexual desires, and resist the urge to break into song, dance, and sodomy. The image loop, as it moves from light to dark, also illustrates the possibility of a homoerotic laboratory that Macaulay imagined in the unsupervised office's work. Because it was only once the native was taught to count and be counted, to compute and be computed, and once the native was trained to understand the penal implications of his penile desires, that the native could understand the value of literature and the power of poetry, that invited him to wander lonely as a cloud and chance upon a coast of daffodils. That in order for a native to become an actor in the part of an audience, capable of the acts of reading and comprehension, a massive design principle of counting and placing have come into being, and that this measurement of being human clearly has an axis of power. And more importantly, a threat of categorization and taxonomy that organizes sociality, intimacy, forms of living, and conditions of death. So, this history of measurement, right, the forms of exclusion, of violence, of reform and repeal are now all too familiar and commonly known. In fact, in all of these different processes and politics of counting, we take for granted that the human body is the origin of these measures. The biological fixity of the body, its particular form and expressions, the inviolable model of completeness and discreteness, and the unwavering idea that the body is a bound, measured thing which is sacrosanct. In all of these interpretations, so be it in the collection of the bodily fluids of Mad King, or the punishment of a ledger keeper's clear desires by a colonial power, or be there the detailed paintings of human body's musculature and flesh, or the enslavement of the body considered non-human, in all of this there is one thing that is clear. The body is the origin of meaning. It is the genesis point, the beginning, the source of meaning, and the verification of its truth, as well as the justification of its materiality. Or it's a strange thing to say, but that the body is central to the practices that measure the body. However, lately, especially with the ubiquity of digital technologies, the glorious certainty and centrality of the body have been dislocated. Not only is the body considered disposable, but also a needful object, a burden to be escaped. And there are two particular visions of human technology in between that are quite popular in the Silicon Valley driven hyper-masculine fantasies of human futures. One is called technological singularity, and the other is called digital immortality. So, technological singularity is this idea that one day we will be able to convert the human subject into exhaustive information, right? And it follows the physical ideas that we have a pure form, we are just energy. We can map these energy spectrum into which can then be stored on prosthetic life carrying computing devices. We could just live forever, no longer subjected to the mortality and the decay of our biological vessels. So this idea of technological singularity is not just a science fiction fantasy, but has billionaires like Elon Musk, for example, investing fortunes in creating an escape hatch for their biological bodies before their time runs out. This is the vision of the beyond human, the human as data points, as information, as post-biological form. And the vision comes at a time when we are clearly facing a precarious future of global climate and planetary capacity to sustain carbon-based life forms, clearly showing us that the future is scarce and that these new augmented human forms are going to be the only ones who will get to consume it. The escape from the banal humans that we are also finds its space in digital sequencing and manipulation of our DNA and basic biological life blocks. So, Alphabet, the parent company that also owns the global giant Google, has significantly invested its resources in stopping aging through its biogenetic company called Calico. In 2016, Alphabet made a startling promise. They decided that the problem of human life is death. And instead of focusing on disease, well-being, and cure, they are just going to reverse the very idea of dying. Looking at stem cell research that reverses aging and thus reverses living, Alphabet's biogenetic subsidiaries are looking at human mutation, genetically modifying the code and DNA of being human, filling up our bodies with technologies, so chips, nanoparticles, synthetically fabricated microbial life forms, which will at some point stop cell decay and aging, thus granting us immortal life. The promise of immortality, very distinctly, is of long life, but not as a human being. This will be a life form that is now so regulated, dependent on technologies that count them to keep it alive, that it will have to be thought of as a new race. Donald Haraway was probably one of the most influential philosophers of science. She wrote an essay called The Cyborg Manifesto, where she had already warned us that as we move into the age of extreme computation, we are going to see a resurgence of eugenics in the form of genetic, where our ancestries, our profiles, our identities, and our lives will be hard coded into the data that stands in for our human experience. Technologies will also then enter in, hard it identified and sorted through eugenic principles. And when I sit in the Netherlands and talk about eugenics, 20 miles across of me is the German border, where you know what happened in the Second World War, where eugenic principles of racial segregation led to genocide at Holocaust war. And despite its history, we are increasingly getting the messages that the human as we know will also need to be changed and that we will have to evolve as a super species when we exist as cyborgs. So, while these aspirations of being human have always abounded our mythologies and fiction, there is a certain inversion of the human technological model that's worth examining. Because even without the science fiction post-apocalyptic visions of Musk labs and alphabet, we are witnessing the rise of a new form of imagination. If the older technological apparatus was to measure the human, thus working with human-centered technologies that sought to describe and determine the human, then new technological networks are creating a machine-centered matrix where the human has to measure up to the technological truths that are being told. And I want to illustrate this through a thought experiment presented by robotics scientist Andrew Clark in his formulation of something called the natural born cyborg. So Clark offers a clear distinction of the machine-centered and human-centered technology. Let's go to thought experiment, right? So if I were to ask you right now to tell me what time it is, looking at your phone, your watch, or your computer, I'm sure you will be able to give me a fairly easy estimate. Now, I hope it's not because ever since this talk started, you have been sitting there counting every minute as it passes by, saying, "Oh my God, when is this talk going to end?" Right? The point is that Clark suggests that you might not know the exact time, but you will find it impossible to think of yourself outside of the dimensions of time. And we often forget that time is a technology, that there is nothing natural about time. It is an artificial form of measurement that orders the passage and change of our environments and bodies, and yet it critically defines us to an extent when we feel as if we own time. When we are late, we talk about losing or gaining time. Well, time is a human-centered technology. It shapes us, it gives us a sense of belonging and ownership. So much so that in the English language, when we ask somebody for the time, we actually ask, "Do you have the time?" And even without looking at the watch, the person is going to have time. We can own time and thus we use it as a measure of who we are, modern, postmodern, alive, late, dead. However, if you look at another form of human technology that we often take for granted, which is language, you realize that our relationship with language is very different from the relationship with time. Right? I mean, especially right now, as you are going through like simultaneous translation, while I speak in English and you are listening to me, some of you in it immediately makes it clear that language is not something we own the way in which we own time. Because if I was to ask you right now, to tell me the meaning of this word, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, without searching for it, you will not be as confident about it as you were saying that you have. Because unless you are Mary Poppins or a huge fan of that particular movie, you would not particularly know what that word means. And let's face it, that even if you do know the word, it isn't like you know the meaning. We think of language as our natural technology, but languages are terrifying pieces of tech. They require repetition, training, immersion, and like complex gadgets, the older we get, the more we lose our ability to process new linguistic structures and formats. Language might be a technology we depend on the most, but it doesn't really allow us ownership. Language does not measure the human, so we use it to describe the human. No, language is a standard that we have to measure up to. We need to develop competence, acquire fluency, and practice till we have met up to the exacting standards that language as a technology sets up for ourselves. This is the machine-centered technology that constantly sets up measures and standards against which we might fail. So the digital systems that we are setting up around us, and this is my primary point, are not human-centered technologies. They are machine-centered systems that constantly give us the imagination of the human as both molecular and collective, but never individual. That the way we are looking at the future of technology, it feels that we are going to be measured in such expensive forms and supposed to be such particular types of humans that we are never going to be human. And this is not sudden or mixed. In fact, what I want to do for us today is map key transitions as the promises of digital technologies and how they lead to this condition where we are trying to measure up to the technologies that we've set ourselves again. The first idea of this measure of the human that I want to move away from is by looking at something called Shaky. So Shaky was a robot developed at the Stanford Research Institute in 1966. And Shaky was going to do an amazing thing. It was going to walk across a room which was 8 square meters, all by itself, without bumping into any of the objects that are in. So in the days of Roombas, where vacuum cleaners run on their own cleaning our houses and cars which are driving themselves, this sounds like a really, really cute thing, right? That Shaky which was supposed to do this. What happened was that there was a live telecast of Shaky trying to do this, and it was the most boring live telecast in the world because Shaky took the first step into the room and then it froze. For 16 hours, it did not move because for Shaky, it was trying to follow the principles of mathematics as opposed to logic. And I'm going to make a distinction between mathematics and logic. So, logic, as we know it, is a closed loop system. Right? In the first order of logic, everything within the defined system is a relationship with every other element of the system. Which means that if two things exist within a logical system, they either have a causal or a correlative relationship. X leads to Y, or X and Y are dependent on each other. Which is why in logic we are able to make predictions of what happens next. For example, if I were to take this glass of water, and if I was to throw it up in the air, I won't because I don't have falling around me. But if I was to throw it up in the air, you know what's going to happen next. You're going to tell me that if I throw it up in the air, it will fall down. And we know this not because we have taught gravity or the theory of relativity in school. We know it because we have seen it happen again and again. If things are thrown up, they come down. This is at the heart of logic. If things happen once, they will happen again. And the more they happen, the more the chances are that this is the only thing that will happen. So logic performs pattern recognition. It identifies a causal and a correlative relationship and then establishes it as the only probable high chance outcome. But if you were to ask the same question to a mathematician, though she would not give me that easy answer. Because mathematics, like arts, deals not with probability but possibility. A mathematician walks into an empty room and says, imagine that this is the point. And from that moment, you have to compute, that moment of imagining a point, you have to work out an entire theory of how the world works. So a mathematician will have to compute a series of options. Maybe the glass, when I throw it out, will disintegrate into heat. Maybe somebody from the audience will jump and grab it in the air and run away with it. Maybe a wormhole will open up and the glass will travel to an alternative dimension where there is another Nishant Shah doing a talk and the glass will fall on his head and kill him, probably giving us the first interdimensional ethical dilemma of whether that is futile or not. Right? So these things sound funny and none of them seem to be probable, but the chances of these happening are very low, but they are possible. And with Shaky was trying to compute possibility as opposed to probability. And because we did not have enough computational power to deal with possibility, we built into our default computation architecture logic as our guiding principle. the restriction that logic puts upon ourselves is that it only deals with the realm of the probable and not the possible. And this has very obvious consequences onto how we count the human body because it doesn't allow for more than the possibility of being anything except for what we already are. So this relationship between the humans and machines in terms of who we see and what we are shown has always been true. For example, there was a time when our computers were human. As Jennifer Knight reminds us in her wonderful material history of computation, the first computers were real-life women who worked in mainframe computations through the complex job of mathematical computation. However, as the mainframe shrunk, the women started getting replaced by men, who in turn were being replaced by processor chips that no longer needed the system administrator to do the authorial work of keeping the mainframe alive. It's quite exciting, or at least puzzling, that from the moment in the 1940s when women were computers, we reached a point by the late 1990s to believe that women are not good at computing. We literally erased women from the history of making of our machines. And this making invisible of human labor and bodies continues in current machine learning narratives that keep on going, giving us visions of self-learning machines and evolving algorithms and network knowledge production. Because we often forget when we talk about face recognition, digital technologies, artificial intelligence, and so on, that at the heart of it is immense human labor. In countries like India, there are massive farms of human verifiers who continuously teach the algorithmic devices to detect, understand, and pass information to in fact make a distinction about whether an image is a chihuahua or a monkey. So it is important to remember that in the building of this idea of the clean machine and the unclean human, or the efficient machine and the inefficient human, we essentially buy into the idea of the human labor as not important and finally resulting into something that can be attributed to the machine, even though it is a combination of what Bruno calls human and the machine together as an entity. So, this is where I want to end. I'm going to run because I'm running out of time a little bit, but it's fine. The third story doesn't, I mean, it's interesting, but I can come back to it later in Q&A. So, what I want to talk about today is that this measurement of the human with the digital technologies that are around us produces the idea of an amplified human. Right? The human being with a universal template and a customized drop-down method. It makes the human into a modular data stream to batch and parallel process the human, thus always keeping it as granular and representative of the collective, but never unique, never complete. So a human that is shaped by probability models that were designed to drive robots are now shaping human lives. A human that is engaged with machines only to perform the residual task and unable to keep up with the ruthless efficiency of the machines is a human that's going to be erased and its labor is going to be made invisible. A human that will be less protected and less valued as more and more it is read as information and data. A human that will be replaced by a dog and nobody would know better. So this is the amplified human, always waiting for a bug fix, a quality assurance test, an update, just to remain safe. And this never quite human enough condition is going to require a new conversation about rights, about protections, about entitlements, about life, labor, language, and love in order to ensure a human future of our technological presence. So I'm going to stop here and maybe we can take like a few questions before I zoom out of this space. But yeah, I'm going to end here and thank you very much.